Aloha, good morning everybody. Wanted to say we're about halfway through our shelter in place and wanted to see how you guys doing, what's going on, how you guys keeping up with all this stuff here going on with the new shelter in place. Life has changed. You know, in the Bible, I wanted to share a story about Matthew 24, I think it is, where there is the boss that went and left for a long trip. And he had three servants. He called his three servants and he said, to the first servant, I leave you 10 bags of money. To the second servant, I leave you 5 bags of money. And then to the last servant, I leave you 1 bag of money. And then he went away on his trip. And then when he came back, the first servant, who he left 5 bags, said, Master, look, I have taken what you've left for me, with me, and I have turned it to 5 more. So now there's a total of 10 bags of money. And the second servant came and said, I too, Lord, you left me 5 bags of money, and now I turned that into 5 more, and look, now I have a total of 10 bags of money. And the last servant, who had 1 bag of money, said, Lord, I know you're a hard guy. I was afraid, didn't trust myself. So I dug a hole, I put it in the ground, and look, here's your bag of money. And the master got really upset and he said, take that bag of money away from him, that lazy and wicked servant, and give it to the one who has the 10 that turned it into the 20, and for he who has turned it into more, he will be well rewarded. And then he threw that other lazy servant into a big fiery pit where nobody else wants to go. So how does that relate to what we're dealing now with this change in the coronavirus world? Well, one thing we know looking back in the past to where we're at today is that when we come out of this coronavirus shelter in place, that there's going to be a wave of opportunity. And how we deal with that change and that opportunity, it all depends on your attitude and how your attitude is setting you up for that coming time. So when I was a little kid, me and my brother, we would play out in the rain sometimes, and there'd be like a little stream of water running down the side of the road, and we would pile rocks and block the water from running and following its flow. And at a certain point, after so much water built up, it would break down the rock pile that we had set up, and there would be a big wave, a big gush of water coming out. That's what's going to happen here in this sheltering in place. Is right now there's a lot of energy, a lot of people being blocked from being able to do the things that they want to do, going to the places that they want to go. If we look back at our history as Americans, as of Californians, as of people of God, where have we been, and what can we learn from that to where we're at today? So if you look back at time, this is how we used to listen to music. Some of you may be too young to even know what this is. So this is vinyl. Yeah, vinyl. So this is how we used to listen to music. And then it changed, didn't it? At a certain point, we were really like advanced, and we thought we was like high tech. And then we used to listen to music like this. Some of you still may not even know what this is. This is a cassette. We used to put this in our cars, and that's how we used to listen to music. Most of you should know how this is, how most of us used to listen to music just recently. Look at the change. Now we went from here to here. And then today, most of us listen to music on this thing. So there's going to be an opportunity of change. And what made those changes was people who had an attitude of like, okay, how can I make things better? Because they had this change in the world going forward, and using the technology and the resources that God gave them was able to advance how we listen to music. So Proverbs teaches us, well, before I get to Proverbs, let me talk about what's happening in Sonoma County and people who have adapted and making to that change. Okay, True Form Design, Scott Streeter has a machine shop. He was making machinery parts. Then COVID came and shut down that part of the business. He adapted. They are now machining parts to make medical surgical masks to protect the frontline workers out there. Eddie Brasha and Sonoma Design and Apparel, they've also adapted from doing promotional items. Now they're doing surgical masks and protective masks. Lisa Lee, a fashion designer in New Jersey, designer for Kate Spade, she's making surgical caps and surgical masks. John Moore and Chris Huffman, that they're no longer working in their regular jobs because of the shutdown. They're helping out at the Salvation Army and helping people get food that no longer can go out and get food for themselves. So you have the chance of adapting to this change in what we're doing right now and becoming something that can promote Sonoma County forward. You know, the Proverbs tells us that the plans of the diligent will succeed. So stepping out of this, what is your plan? Have you created that plan? Now's the time while you're sitting at home to think, okay, when this shelter in place is uplifted and I'm free and I get to go back to life, it's like, okay, what do you want that life to look like? So I encourage you right now, you know, start making that list of what you want your life to look like when you get out of this. You know, what is it that you want to change in your financial life? What is it that you want to change in your spiritual life? What is it that you want to change in your relationships, in your goals? You know, I recently had to reset all my goals that I normally do in the beginning of the year because of this. I encourage you to make that list and then reset your goals. You know, where do you want to be in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years from now? Because this is gonna make an opportunity for us to make those changes now. Now that we have this event, you know. So some of us may remember this, some of us may be too young, but if you look back in our history as a country, some of you guys may remember what this is and where this came from. Okay, during this time, the world went through a big change. You know, just by going to the airports now, you can realize what one of the changes of that time was. Where were we as a country and what we changed to? This is that time again. We get a time to hit that reset button going forward on all the things that we want to change in our lives that we haven't been diligent about, you know, especially with our walk with God, our spiritual walk. So take that opportunity to make that list and change going forward what it is that you want your life to look like. So control what you can and leave the rest up to God. Thank you.